All right, are you ready?
Estoy listo. I am ready.
Okay. What's your name?
My name is Darryle Smith II.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 26 years old.
Okay. So, Darryle, who are you on a soul level?
On a soul leather, On a soul level,
Yeah.
I do wear leather. On a soul level, I am unbothered.
So is there anything that's happened in the past or anything that's going on right now that has brought you to this unbothered place?
Oh, there's plenty. In terms of, I'm glad you asked. There's a lot. Am I looking at the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. A lot. Just life in general, specifically things that have happened to me in my youth that have developed me into the person that I am today. And on that journey, it's been a lot of things. Being extracted from my comfort zone, and having to figure my way, find my footing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that has been the main driving force on getting me to that point of being unbothered. I heard a wise, it was actually a cartoon, it wasn't a wise man, but it was a cartoon. It was a wise man.
Those are wise men.
They are wise men, right?
Yes.
That said one time, when you realize nothing matters, the universe is yours, right?
What
So,
cartoon was this?
Rick and Morty.
Yes.
Yes. Rick and Morty. When you realize nothing matters, the universe is yours. And to elaborate on that, you know, a lot of the things we go through in life, especially the trials and tribulations, are terribly temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And often there's a lesson in those trials and tribulations. And there's a reason for it. And what I was able to learn was to first realize the lesson, and knowing that I might stumble and fall along the way, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But just that's where the things I've gone through in my life have helped me to get to this level of being unbothered.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you could describe your childhood in 3 words, what would it be?
And my childhood in 3 words, unique, supportive, in terms of having a supportive, I guess, foundation around me, and liberating.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you 3 categories,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to talk about what means the most to you and what means the least to you.
Okay.
So, and you can mix and match these however you want to.
Okay.
So the first category is love, sex, and relationships. The next is society, culture, and politics.
Okay.
And the next is spirituality and or religion.
Okay.
So what takes the front seat in your life?
Out of all those things,
Mm-hmm.
definitely spirituality, because we're all spiritual beings. Whether you adhere to any particular, and then I'll go into the religion part as well, spill into that a little bit. Whether you subscribe to any particular religion or any particular way of life, it all goes back to spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of spirituality, I think of just existing within the universe and finding your way and adhering to the signs and wonders that are out there. Now, when you talk about religion, as valuable as it is a man-made construct used to divide. So you got spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
which is, if I'm a person, I heard a wise man once say,
Mm-hmm.
His name's Rabbi Levi Solomon Plummer. He said, we are spiritual beings living a human existence. Thank you. We are spiritual beings living a human existence.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't say we are Christians. He didn't say we are Hebrew Israelites. He didn't say we are Buddhists. He didn't say we are any part of Hinduism or Catholicism, when he said simply, we are spiritual beings living in human existence. And for me, spirituality is the key, because when you move spirit first, or as my Latino brothers and sisters say, espíritu primero, you walk a different way, you talk a different way, you eat different things, you say different things. You ascend to another level when you talk about spirituality. And spirituality is the foundation, right? And this goes back to even people that may not necessarily believe in a power, in a God or the universe, Allah, whatever you want to call it. Even those are spiritual beings. Even an atheist can be a spiritual being. An atheist can be led by the Spirit. Even science has spirit all in it. You look at the anatomy of the body, you look at plant life, all those types of things, is all led by the Spirit. So that's definitely the first, like the main thing that I've kind of tried to help lead me in my life. And not getting too caught up in, this religion or that religion, because it's all relative to what it truly is about, spirituality. You have religious people and you have spiritual people.
Right.
I can go to a Buddhist temple in Tibet and be fed spiritually. I can go in a corner over there on Rhode Island Avenue and be fed. It's all relative to your spirit and who you are and where you are on your spiritual walk. So I try not to marginalize my spirituality to a religion or to a tabernacle or to a church, because my spirit can be fed no matter where I'm at if I'm seeking it. And that's kind of where I get my inspiration from, and the things that I do, just being led in spirit first. And notice, I have a particular religion that I adhere to, but I'm open to all types of different religions, different ways of life, because there's always lessons to be learned. And anything that you're doing, you can gain a lesson if you're seeking it. So that's something that, when it comes to spirituality versus religion. And I'm not saying religion is not needed or that it's not valuable, but always if you keep in your forefront that a lot of times religion is just a device that's used to divide, and you realize that, and you are led by spirit, you're able to come together no matter what color you are, where you come from, what gang you're in, who your parents are, because it's all it all should go back to spirituality.
Okay. Yeah. So for love, sex, and relationships, and society, culture, and politics, so where do those fall on your scale of importance?
Okay, so let's talk about love, sex, and relationships. So a lot of times we use this word love all the time in different ways. We use it in different to frame it in different areas, but we don't really consider what love actually is. And I'm glad you asked the question about love, sex, and relationships, because that's three. That's how they do it in Europe. They hold up three like this. Three different. Those are three different things.
Right.
Love, sex, and relationships, all three different things. However, they all are vitally important and dependent upon each other. They're all they work off one another. So we talk about love, sex, and relationships. You have to develop a relationship first before you can love someone. A lot of time, at least that's what I believe, because you might see somebody like if I see you, you're an attractive woman, right?
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I'm looking at you like I don't know you. I'm just seeing you from the physical point. And a lot of times people get that mixed up with love. But you haven't even developed a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
So you might like what you see, like aesthetically, what's aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but you really can't love that person because you don't even know. So I would say that relationships out of those three is the most important, because you have to develop a relationship with that person. Whether it's a romantic relationship or just a relationship of another type of love where you just love somebody as a friend, you have to develop that relationship first before you can cultivate love because without the relationship, there is no love.
Right.
Relationship is supposed to be a connection between two people. But how can you be connected to someone if all that feeds you is that what you see that is carnal? And don't get me wrong. I mean, I like to see a beautiful woman. I can appreciate a beautiful woman, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But it's important to first develop that relationship first with that person. If you truly want to, whether you want to love them romantically or just even get to know them as a person, you want to first develop that relationship. Because how can I love you if I don't even like you? And that's where the relationship comes in. Yeah. If I don't like that person, you know, and a lot of times that's what happens. People get into these relationships, they get into these marriages, and they don't even like the person.
Right.
They do it because maybe what their parents have told them they should do, or what society has told them they should do. But like me, for example, I don't particularly subscribe to the institution of marriage. It's valuable in certain ways, but there's nothing that can make me believe that I'm not fulfilled until I get married or have children.
Right.
Because there's so many more things to existence than just getting married, finding a house with a white picket fence, and settling down. Nothing wrong with that, but there's so much more to life. And to marginalize someone that they haven't been fulfilled because they haven't married or had children goes back to the warped sense of love. And the warped sense of love comes from that relationship not being developed from the forefront. So we talked about the relationship. The relationship is the foundation. And then you talk about love. A lot of times we have what you would call maybe conditional love, right? Meaning that there's if this, then I will love you, right? Mm-hmm. So if she got a fat ass, then I can maybe talk to her. Or if he's 6'5", then I can talk to, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's different things. That's conditional love. Mm-hmm. Conditional love, and we all guilty of it, is the most common, I would say, conditional love. You love somebody as long as they're providing for you. You love somebody as long as they're doing something for you. A lot of times we don't love people, we love what they can do for us. We love what we think they represent. We like to live vicariously through people a lot. So it's something to be said about love when you develop that relationship from the forefront. And then you talk about sex, right? So me, I'm 26 now. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 21. And a lot of people think that it has something to do with, people ask me all the time, does it have anything to do with my religious beliefs or anything? It has nothing to do with that. Yeah. I've always been a person that's been a very calculated, very cerebral person. And I learned when I finally did have sex that it's a very powerful energy transfer when you have sex with somebody on any level. And whether it's somebody you're connected to, whether it's a one-night stand, or even if somebody is like molested or raped, the energy transfer is powerful. Maybe sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative in terms of like the sexual assault part. Mm-hmm. And I always had a reverence for that transfer of sexual energy, because you can't just be out here just, well, you can. I mean, people do whatever they want. Right. But I couldn't find myself having sex with someone if I haven't developed any type of relationship with them. And I'm not necessarily saying it had to be a label on it, like we had to be official, but a relationship, even if it's just a friend, right? There's nothing wrong with fucking your friends if you want to do it, if you know, if it works for you. But even with that, you've at least developed a relationship that can evolve into love, and then we get into the sex piece, which is kind of thrown in between those. But I think without love, without relationships, without a relationship, you can't truly have love. And whether it's conditional or unconditional love, it's still a form of love. And without that, I don't think that, I've never been a person to, I'm a sexual person, but I'm not really out there like that. Mm-hmm. So it goes back to the thing about talking about why I lost my virginity at such a quote unquote late age. Because when I was in high school, people was fucking everywhere.
Right.
It was everywhere. It was easily, you know, I could easily get it if I wanted to. Even in college, when I was in college, I had sex with one person. Other than the person I lost my virginity to, I had sex with one person. And to this day, I've had sex with two people. Most people wouldn't believe that. People goes back to the perception though. People look at you and they have these preconceived notions in your mind. And it doesn't make me better than anyone. It's not I'm not here to glorify that I've only had sex with two people. But I'm just saying in terms of that reference for that energy transfer of having sex with someone is something that I always had a reference for. So if I had to rank those, I would say relationships are the most important because that's the foundation. Love, and then sex. I wouldn't say sex is particularly it's last in what I listed it, but sex is kind of in between because that can happen in the middle of the relationship transferring into love. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my spiel, if you will, on like love, sex, and relationships.
Okay. And
when it comes to conditional love, which we talked about, but then unconditional love is basically, I'll love you no matter what. And I believe the term is agape. That's the term for unconditional love. It is meaning that no matter what's going on, indiscriminate of anything that's going on in life, I'll always love you. That's a very hard thing to come by. It's a very hard thing to commit yourself to. Mm-hmm. You think about what's people that truly possess unconditional love, because it is possible. Those people, when you have them in your life, it hits different when you have somebody that loves you unconditionally. Right. Like sometimes you might get this from your parents. No matter what you do, whether you go to a prestigious university and get all these degrees, or whether you on the corner smoking crack, a mother will always have that love for their child. You see even people that do all types of heinous crimes, and a lot of times we do with these more famous serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy. A lot of times they interview the parents because at one point in time we were all little babies with no type of prejudices or things in our mind, but there's a certain appetite that's stirred up within you as you live your life. Right. But parents, I've noticed, can have that unconditional love. Spouses too, they can have that unconditional love, but it's a very slippery slope when you talk about unconditional love. It's something that I try to have for people that's close to me, where I'll be there for them. But it's hard because if you say no matter what, it's hard to be there for somebody at all times. You can't. But it's certainly a good model to live by when you talk about love, to try to strive for that. We're not perfect, but we can certainly strive for that mark of perfection by bettering ourselves every day. So that's kind of my little commentary on love, sex, and relationships. And you said society, politics, and what else?
Society, culture, and politics.
Okay, so I would say.
So this is last for you. This is the least important thing.
Well, I will say that because there's parts of society, culture, and politics that I would say is equally as important to love. Certainly not politics, right. But definitely culture. Okay, I would put culture in there with love, sex, and relationships. But in terms of grouping those three, yeah, this would be the least out of the ones we discussed. Mm-hmm. So we talk about politics. One of the taboo discussions when you at work. Right. There's three.
Religion.
Yeah, religion and politics you're not supposed to discuss. So here's the thing with me with politics. I'm not a big. I certainly make myself aware of politics, or try to make myself aware of politics, but I don't really have an allegiance to any particular political party when it comes to a particular political ideology. I've always been a person that says, we talk about left wing and right wing, they both wings on the same dirty ass bird. It's a duopoly. It's just like illusion of choice. The same controlling hand, really controls both parties. And why is that? Because I believe that those are parties of the people, and truthfully, we should be coming together on these issues. But we got all this Republican, Democrat, Independent. All of that stuff is, again, it's like religion used to divide. Politicians should get to the root of the issues, not get too caught up in the pageantry of this political party or that political party. Left wing, right wing, both wings on the same dirty ass bird. So politics, I won't say I don't like politics, but the devices that they use is why I have that particular ideology when it pertains to politics in general. Society's a tricky thing, because society is really dependent upon the civilization that the people that are comprised of that civilization. Society can be a terrible thing sometimes. I think I heard, I'm a big Marilyn Manson fan, and he said one time, I wish I could remember it. I had it on my phone, but he said something along the lines of, sexual like deviance or something? No, it wasn't that. It was. I wish I had the quote. I really did, because I wanted to say it. If I had my phone, I could say it. I have it written down on my phone. I would. Thank you so much, my beautiful assistant over there. You don't mind if I open it up? Okay.
Do your thing.
Because I really wanted to get this in.
Yeah.
And this was from Marilyn Manson when we talk about society. He said, is adult entertainment killing our children, or is killing our children entertaining our adults? When you talk about society.
Wow.
And another thing he said was, people tend to associate anyone who looks and behaves differently with illegal or immoral activity. So look at somebody like Marilyn Manson. He got a certain look about him.
The beautiful people.
The beautiful people, right? And he has he's a very polarizing figure. You have those shootings that were happening. Specifically when Columbine happened. See the curls popping. Specifically when Columbine happened, he didn't do any interviews. And the reason why he didn't do any interviews is because he was being blamed for a lot of the things that those two kids did when they shot up those schools. So he didn't do any interviews. But why was he being blamed for it? Because society likes to find somebody to project on.
Yeah, a scapegoat.
A scapegoat. Marilyn Manson at the time was a scapegoat. So is adult, like he said something like when he said, is adult entertainment killing our children, or is killing our children entertaining our adults? The young people, I'm a young person, you're a young person, we're the most malleable. We're the most easy to kind of form and mold based off our environment. And when you can get them early, it's easier to kind of have them go in the direction you want them to go. Like for example, you take two children, put them on a playground, one's black, one's white. They're gonna naturally play with each other because they're there just having fun. Right. It's not until society, whether it be their parents or whether it be the schools or politics, instill that hate within them, right? Marilyn Manson has a song on his album, his debut album. It's the first song. It's called "Irresponsible Hate Anthem," and it's a pretty. I'm a huge Marilyn Manson fan. I like all types of music, but Marilyn Manson has always been geared towards me. When I tell people that, they think that I'm some type of Satanist or that I worship the devil just because of what they think Marilyn Manson represents. But something he said in his song, "Irresponsible Hate Anthem," he said, "Everybody is someone else's nigger. I know you are, and so am I." So what does he mean by that? everybody is someone else's nigger. When you look at a person in this country, a black person in this country, we constantly getting slighted and all these things. And what he's saying by that is, even if you're not a black person, everybody is somebody's nigger. Everybody's getting slighted by somebody. Everybody's being, whether you're white, black, or in between, it's always somebody's like marginalizing you to a degree. So I use Marilyn Manson to talk about society because society can be very cruel, hypocritical, judgmental, but at the same time, society can also be like when it's comprised of the people that are doing the right things. It can be a beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful thing to see people come together for a common cause that's greater than themselves.
Right.
So when I look at society, I just with all the bad that comes with it, there is also so much good as well, and that kind of spills into culture. I pride myself on culture and having a good awareness of culture, different cultures in society. Like even with the stuff I'm wearing right now, like I'm a big basketball fan. Even when you can look at somebody and kind of tell sometimes what kind of culture they may be from, or something that like registers with them. Right. So this is Dwayne Wade, right? So I'm a big basketball fan. So that tells you something, that you can make an assumption that I'm a big basketball fan. This hat that I have on, shout out Brooklyn Vintage. They're a black-owned company out of New York. They make really good stuff. Shameless plug. This is I don't know if it comes up, but it's Thanos, right? And he's got I'm heavy into comic books as well, and I've always been heavily read and interested in Thanos, especially when the movies came out, but even before that. So I've even got a ring with the 6 Infinity Stones. So there's so much, right? So culture is a huge thing. Without a culture, when you take away a civilization's culture, you take away a huge part of that civilization. Right. That's why when you look at something with slavery, the first thing they did was, we're gonna make you unlearn everything you did about what your culture was, your language, the songs you sung, the gods you knew, the people you surrounded yourself with. We're gonna extract you from that, and we're gonna teach you a new thing. Like I said, I don't have a particular problem with any religion, but in this particular example, the example was Christianity. Christianity was being projected on the slaves, right? That if you do this, first of all, my God says that you're less than, and we have a book that says so, and we're gonna use this book to keep you marginalized and keep you obedient. So culture is a big thing, and it's amazing how when you strip someone's culture away, how vulnerable they are. When you talk about the example of slavery, I've heard it's people talk about, and I'm not taking away from any genocidal tragedy, but as far as I'm concerned, the worst genocidal tragedy because even like the Holocaust and in World War II, as bad as it was, I'm not taking away from it. As bad as it was, those numbers, they were accounted for, and it may not. They said 6 million. They give you that number of 6 million Jews. That was 6 million just Jews. There were still African Americans, homosexuals, quote unquote gypsies. All these people that were into that number, that actually made like 10 million. 10 million people. Like that's even, I can't even comprehend. I've been in a room full of like maybe 1,200 people before, and that seems like a lot of people. But 10 million people, all dead. Folks, just simply because of a corrupt regime that was in place. So now you look at something like slavery. All the people that were lost on the trail, on the underground, it's called not the underground pass. What is it? The underground passage? No, not the Underground Railroad. They have a name for it. The Middle Passage. Yes, thank you. The Middle Passage. Think about how many slaves jumped overboard because they didn't want to.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Or think about all the babies that were lost, all the women that were raped, and this is just in the Middle Passage. All these people that were lost from the colonizers at the time coming over and taking their resources from them, then putting them on the boat to the Middle Passage, then coming over all the people that were lost in that time, and then you get to the actual states and all the people that are lost. It's right. It's a lot. It's a lot to take on, but because their culture was taken from them, almost to the point where they had. I heard also a story where they would have a liquor. They would have 2 liquor bottles, and they would put like whiskey or whatever the drink was, hooch, whatever the drink was at the time, and they would fill it up to the brim, and they would write freedom on one and liberty on the other, and they would make the slave drink it and just shove it down his throat until he finally was like, I don't want no more liberty, I don't want no more freedom. To use that against him to say, oh, that he said he doesn't want any more liberty, he wants any more freedom. Why was he able to be put in that position? Because his culture was taken from him. Right? Talk about people, and then we won't, I don't want to keep it focused on slavery, but I just use that as an example to say how important culture is. Culture is the key. We always talk about doing stuff for the culture, right? I don't know where I would be if I didn't have like culture, and not just my culture as a black person, because I value that immensely, but even cultures from other people, right? I speak Spanish. If I wasn't open to other cultures, I wouldn't be able to have that bilingual ability. So I think culture is vitally important. Out of those 3, the culture is the most important in terms of informing yourself about other ways of life and just being well versed. A word I use a lot, or a phrase I use a lot, is I don't want to be an uncultured swine. So I try to inform myself with as many cultures and have a respect for as many cultures as I can, because it goes back to that spiritual journey, just informing yourself as much as you can. So I know that was a lot, but I kind of went in different directions, but
No, that was great.
yeah. So that's my little spiel on that.
Okay. I'm going to get you to draw.
Oh, lovely.
So I want you to pick colors that represent you and
Okay.
your life, and things that make you happy and things that make you sad, and just, anything that makes you feel something. You can pick as many colors as you want to.
Okay.
And then I want you to explain why you picked the colors that you picked.
Abstract minimalist,
I don't-
vibey. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, Alana, I don't know if this is allowed, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So I picked some colors, but can I keep the whole thing?
Yeah, people have done that.
Okay.
So what are the colors that you picked?
So I picked black because black is, they say black is all colors put together,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So with just black alone, right, we can encapsulate all different spectrums of the color, like areas of the color spectrum with just black, right?
Yeah.
With just black. Black is, whether you want to believe it or not, is the cradle of civilization. There was a time where people were actually blacker than this. When the first people on this earth were blacker than this pen right here. Some people, they say they had a hue of like blue. That's how black they were. And a lot of times we get, as black people, but even as black skin, a lot of self-hate projected within us that comes from a lot of different factors.
Yeah.
But I picked black because to show that I have pride in myself as a black person, but also because how powerful black is. Look at I don't know, it may not still be like this, but I know at one point in time, in the movie Malcolm X by Spike Lee touched on this, where he looked at, when he was in jail, the brother in there had him read the definition of white and then read the definition of black. And when he read the definition of white, it was talking about all this like purity, innocence, without fault, all these things, without blemish. And then he had him read black, and black said it was like darkness and, absent of light, void of anything good. And at the end of it said the opposite of white. So you see how, so I picked, exactly. I picked black to let you know, if you're watching this, if you're black, you're beautiful and you're valuable. We're all beautiful and we're valuable, but I'm talking to my people right now. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you're not beautiful and that you're not valuable, because this is where it all started, black. All right?
Oh, sis.
So then I picked 2 shades of green. No particular order, but green is one of my favorite colors. So I just picked green because I've always been inclined to the color green. You talk about green when you think of the earth. You talk about thinking like trying to live green and recycle, because Mother Earth is our most valuable resource. And I work in the Community Housing and Planning Division for Arlington County. I'm now an inspector, but I used to be a plan review. I used to read architectural plans for permits. And one thing that helped me realize at my job the valuable thing about land. Land is so important. If you own land, the possibilities are endless. And land is the only asset that they're not making any more of. It's here. There's plenty of it, but they're not making any more land. They're making more money. They're making more houses. They're making more cars. But they're not going to make any more land. So get you some land.
For real.
So green goes back to the earth at first, as nature being our most valuable asset. But then green is also a representation of land and how valuable it is. So inform yourself about how important land and real estate and all those things are. It's very important. I also picked pink. As you can see, I got a pink shirt on, right? And pink has this connotation of being effeminate, right? Or not being for men. But I embrace my peculiarity. I embrace being an unconventional human being. I'm not like anything that you've ever seen before. I'm not like anything that you're going to come across. So I embrace the ability to be different. Embrace being different. People might say, there's been times where people have seen, and when I was in like high school, where people would see pink and say, oh, he's gay because he wears pink. But but it goes to show you, like, we're in high school and the things that are immature things that are being said. But you'd be surprised, even after high school, that the kind of narrative that's pushed. Now, I'm not gay. I'm very comfortable in my sexuality, but gay, straight, bisexual, sexuality is a spectrum. We look at all these colors. It's a spectrum. It's subjective to what you believe, how you love and who you love. So don't get too caught up on these labels. You love who you love, and there's nothing wrong with that. So wear pink.
Yes, teacher.
And then I had red as well because I don't know why I just had picked up red. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Because that's when I asked you that could I pick more colors. That's why I just started picking random colors up. But I specifically made it a point to pick up black because black is beautiful, and we love our people and we love ourselves. Green because of Mother Earth and the land, how valuable land is. And then pink because wear what the fuck you want. Sexuality is a spectrum.
True.
Red and blue is relevant to you too, though.
Hmm?
Red,
Oh, yeah.
grounding energy, blue, communication.
Exactly.
Other values of yours too that you were kind of unconsciously guided to, so that's fucking cool.
Exactly. So
Okay.
you said I can start drawing and just
So I'm
put
gonna
whatever.
get you to draw throughout the rest of the interview, whatever you want,
Okay.
and then I'll get you to show everybody when you're done.
All right. Okay.
So first question: what makes you the most upset?
What makes me the most upset is, it's funny you asked that because I'm, like I said before, I'm very, unbothered. But it's not to say because I'm unbothered I don't have emotions. So something that upsets me is when people have a lack of compassion, or a lack of understanding, and a lack of just emotional intelligence. That's something that I don't get angry about it, but it's something that really it's like in my head I'm like internally like running 1,000 miles because of the lack of consideration that somebody has for somebody's well-being.
Right.
For example, one of my closest friends, she's in the room now, Grace, she lost her brother to suicide, right? Now, a lot of times, as traumatic of a thing as that is, a lot of times people don't have, when it comes to that, people don't have a lot of emotional intelligence when it comes to that, right? So the first thing might come to her and say, oh my God, your brother killed himself. Why did he do that? How the fuck she's supposed to know? She's not him. She wasn't walking in his shoes. So you're already coming to a person that's that's struggling with that, and you're gonna try to ask them a difficult question as to why they did that, right? And then she actually informed me, because of the work she does, about the term commit suicide. And I don't use that term anymore because she informed me that committing suicide is, and now when I hear it, I cringe when somebody says they committed suicide, because you're like putting the blame on that person, that they committed you could commit murder, you could commit crime. I mean, you could commit rape and all these other crimes, but you can't really commit suicide. Because it's deeper than just a trivial crime.
Yeah.
It's something more there. So that's something that just kind of grinds my gears. Is the lack of emotional intelligence. Another thing that grinds my gears is the lack of passive aggression. I can't stand passive aggressive people. Because when you're passive aggressive, you are trying to divert from the issue at hand, and also you might be trying to push a particular agenda without saying it. So I'm not a fan of people that move in passive aggressive ways. You know, that goes, and we'll talk about that maybe later. That goes to the we talk about the 4 agreements. Somebody who's passive aggressive isn't impeccable with their word, because they're not speaking their word. They're not speaking in truth. They're just trying to divert around the issue, but still trying to implement their agenda. But they're kind of diverting around the issue. So I can't stand passive aggression. I also cannot. I'm not a big fan of the lack of understanding of what people go through in general, but specifically what, my people, black people, go through. And as a black male, I can speak to this. So I'll just preface this by saying, even with the thing with the NFL, I haven't watched football in like 3 years because of the whole thing with Colin Kaepernick and all that stuff. And I'm actually happy for Jay-Z that he made this power move to do what he's doing. I'm not judgmental on people that do watch football. I just don't watch football. Now, why do I not watch football? Because Colin Kaepernick was he was pretty much put on a blacklist, right? Of not because he was kneeling during the national anthem. And a lot of people, white and black, misinterpreted the reason he was kneeling. So at first he wasn't kneeling because he wasn't kneeling, he was sitting down. He was sitting during the national anthem. He was just sitting. And a Green Beret actually pulled him to the side and said, because he was sitting because of the injustices that happened to the disparity of treatment towards minorities in this country with the law enforcement. That's what the issue is about, and I'll elaborate on that. But the Green Beret pulled him to the side and was like, I know what you're doing, and I understand the call, the reason behind it. But if the way it would be respectful to me and my brothers is if you kneel, because when we honor the dead in the military, we kneel. We kneel to honor our fallen comrades. So he kneeled out of respect for the Green Beret and this country, but also still protesting the injustices that happened. So what's the issue that Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for? It's simple. It don't got shit to do with the fucking flag. It don't got shit to do with the fucking national anthem. It has everything to do with the mistreatment of American citizens in this country by law enforcement. That's what it, and now it happens to be a disparate treatment of African Americans and minorities in that category. But I try to dumb it down to just that, because that is true. We're American citizens and we're being mistreated by law enforcement in this country. So I haven't watched football in 3 years, probably going on 4 now, because of the lack of emotional intelligence on the behalf of some of these NFL representatives.
All right, 3 more questions. So One of them is, what don't you want to tell people but know you should share because it could help someone else?
What don't I want to tell people but know I should share because it could help someone else?
Yes.
I don't want to tell people that I have this light within me, this light that shines. I don't want to tell people that, just because out of humility, I don't like to tell people that I have this light within me that shines and inspires me to do different things. I don't want to tell people, but I should tell them. But here's the thing about that light. I don't have to say anything. Even if I don't want to say anything, people are going to see it. I don't have to say anything. People are going to be drawn to that light no matter what.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Well,
So I don't have to say anything. I don't like to say it. I don't like the attention. I don't even this. Like, I like sharing my thoughts, and I love this whole concept.
let your light be shine
But
among men.
that they may see your good works. But I'm not one to like the attention or like the limelight. But I'm learning more and more that when you do certain things and you carry yourself a certain way, people are gonna be drawn to that light.
Okay. What's the most challenging thing you've ever gone through?
The most challenging thing I've ever gone through was taking care of my mother and my brother. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer about 3 years ago, and I had to step up and take care of not only her, but also take care of my brother and maintain the household. That's easily the most trying and difficult thing I had to go through. I've been able to come through it, but again, it goes back to just being the spirituality and being grounded within myself. Because without that, I would not have been able to get through it. But easily, that's definitely the most challenging thing I've ever gone through, is taking care of my mother and my brother in the midst of my mother being sick.
What are you self-conscious about?
What am I self-conscious about?
Yes, if anything.
I used to be self-conscious about my body. I didn't like to take my shirt off and stuff, like with like pool parties and stuff. I would try not to do that because I didn't like the way I looked.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to be self-conscious about that, but now I've done things to eat healthier and develop my body and be better. So now it's hot boy summer. So
Yeah.
I'm all open about it. But I used to be. Even now I'm still pretty self-conscious about it. I'm still pretty self-conscious about my body. Just because I'm always improving and getting better. You know, Nipsey Hussle says the marathon continues. So I'm self-conscious about a lot of things because I feel like I'm not doing enough. So I'm always trying to improve myself and be better, but also be kind to myself. I used to be very hard on myself and mean to myself, and it showed in kind of the way I was carrying myself. But I've learned to embrace the things I'm self-conscious about and just improve upon them.
Okay. When's the last time you cried?
The last time that I cried, I actually can remember this. It was about, what are we in, July now? It was about,
It's August.
August. Wow. It is. It's like in the middle of August too, so it's not like it just started. I'm burnt out, man. The last time I cried was in June. I was watching a Nipsey Hussle video, and it was just like a short 59-second clip. But he was talking about he was just saying he was providing like a word of encouragement to stay focused and keep bettering yourself, and it stirred my soul up because it cried out of sadness because we had lost neighborhood Nip, and he was a pillar in so many communities. But I was crying out of sadness for that, but also crying because out of happiness that I was realizing my purpose of staying focused and keeping on that path of always getting better. I'm the best 26-year-old me. Every day, I improve upon myself to get better. Every day, I wake up a better version of myself. Every second, not just every day, every second. After this interview, I'm gonna be a better person than I was before this interview, right? Not because I'm better than the next person, but because I have the mind to improve on myself. Yeah, I'm self-conscious about things, but I try to work on those things. When I wasn't happy about the way I looked, I started exercising more. I started eating healthier. and the results manifested. I wasn't happy with my job. I took the next step to find ways to grow in that job and in that field, and the abundance was manifested. But it's all about the energy you put out there and what what you put out will always come back to you. I have it just saying, the universe don't make no motherfucking mistakes.
True.
So,
What is your relationship with money? You haven't mentioned money once.
I have a rebuttal to that. So money is important, right? I think money. I do believe that money is important, but money is. I saw an old Bob Marley interview. Somebody had asked him, and he's Bob Marley. He was a very famous musician, and the guy asked him, "Would you consider yourself a rich man?"
I saw
And he said no, and he said, "Well, you say rich, what you mean?" And he said, "Like you have a lot of money." He said, "Possession make you rich." And he said, "Me no have them kind of riches. My richness is life forever." So, to that point, money is important, right? But I'm not motivated or driven by money. I understand the importance of it, and I have financial intelligence on saving and different places to put your money, which I feel like in our community especially, we don't have a lot of knowledge on. But money is just a means to an end.
Right.
So it's important, and you need to be smart with it, but it's there's more to life than just money.
Okay. And the last question I ask everybody this, what do you have to say to the world? So if all the electricity shut off, but then your face was on every single screen, like public service announcement, and then it was Darryle. So like, what are you going to say to everybody?
Okay. Public service announcement. This is Robert Neville. I can provide food. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Public service announcement. To all you listening out there on this radio wave of life, on this radio wave in the cosmos, on this earthly plane of existence, on this plane of existence out in those different galaxies out there, I would offer you the 4 agreements. 1, be impeccable with your word. Speak your truth. Don't gossip. And use your word for truth and love, because what you say is what you are.
That's right.
Something powerful about that throat chakra and what you say and what you put into the universe. So be impeccable with your word. 2nd, don't take things personal. A lot of times people's projections on you they're just projecting what their reality is on you. It has nothing to do with you. And as long as you realize the importance of not taking things personal, you won't become the victim to needless suffering. So don't take things personal. It ain't got shit to do with you. Just breathe and let it pass. 3, don't make assumptions. Ask questions. Don't think that something is the way it is, and it ended up not being that way, and you could have found that out by asking questions. Don't make assumptions. The only thing that's for sure is that nothing's for sure. Always ask questions. And 4, always do your best. If you go through your life and you have succeeded or you have failed, if you know that you did your best, you can find solace in that, whichever way it goes. Henry Ford said one time, whether you believe or whether you don't, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, it's true. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, it's true. But if you always do your best, not only will you be surprised what the universe gives you in return, whether it be a success where you can get abundance from it, or a failure where you can learn. When you see men fall, don't laugh, learn. Always do your best. And if you always do your best, you'll never have any reservations about how something could have went. So live life to the fullest in those 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personal. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. That's what I would say if the electricity was out. Those 4 foundational truths to the earth, to all planes of existence.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes. Thank
That
you.
was awesome.
Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you.
amazing.
Thank you for having me.
I love your brain.
Yes.
That was awesome. Let me
Great.
see what you drew. Show the camera.
All right, let me finish coloring this in. I love your brain too. Iron sharpens iron, so we can't be surrounded by these butter knife ass niggas and bitches. These-
I wish I could see Grace
yeah, she over here
clipping in the corner.
living her best life. Ain't going back and forth with you niggas.
Oh my god. That's so true though. All of this was so true.
So, all right, I'm finishing coloring it up. I didn't draw much because I'm not, well, I will say
most people that-
I am an artist. Okay, people say I'm not much of an artist, but I am an artist. Because art is subjective.
That's true.
Much like sexuality is a spectrum.
I can
Okay.
put it back.
I'll
yeah.
put it back after this. So I drew a couple of things. So if you see up here, you can. I drew the 6 infinity stones. So we have the reality stone, the time stone, the space stone. What is it? I can't. I'm like drawing a blank on it. So I believe this is the space stone, and that is the power stone, yes. The soul stone and the mind stone. 6 infinity stones, which Thanos wields. I drew this yin yang because life is about balance. You need a mixture of light and dark in your life. It's good to be in the light, but sometimes you got to go to the dark to truly become what you're supposed to become. They say there's a passage, I don't know if it's a scripture or not, but it talks about God dwelling in thick darkness.
Yeah.
So you sometimes got to go to that. Look at that. You see that's thick darkness all around, but there's still a light. And if that light was within you, stop looking up. You have it within you. I heard a wise man, the same person, Rabbi Levi Solomon Plummer, said, I don't have a monopoly on this echo of prophecy. You too can be that echo of prophecy if you have enough faith. And that's how you can get it, by finding your light within that thick darkness. And then I drew the sun and the earth, because I talked about Mother Nature being our most valuable assets. And the earth yields to the sun. But sometimes we take the sun for granted. The sun, we think the sun's going to always be there. So what if the sun wasn't there? Think about all the things that wouldn't be able to thrive if the sun wasn't there.
Right.
The earth yields to the sun. And we can't have the earth without the sun. So but in order to truly get the benefits from the sun, we have to maintain the earth and do everything we can to protect it, because Mother Nature's our most valuable asset, and we have to come together to conserve her for future generations. So those that sleep in the dust and those that have not yet formed from the dust. So that's what I drew.
That's awesome. Can you sign it?
Yeah, sure. Sign it in. This is Darryle within the flesh.
Okay. Yes.